It is good to have you back. And now, talking about elections, PVC, INEC, it seems they are really doing a fantastic job so far. But at least let me ask you this: the build up to 2023 election, the one coming up next month. So far, what are your assessment of it all? How are you feeling the ground?
Well, there are. I want to start by making the point that there are different stakeholders who have different roles to play to make election, to bring about a peaceful, free, fair and credible election. INEC is just the manager of the elections, and INEC alone cannot conduct elections. But if you ask me, I think INEC has demonstrated sufficient commitment, to ensuring that it delivers a free, fair and credible election. But of course, beside INEC, the environment, the security environment, and the behavior of politicians, the desperation of politicians, if you ask me, and then the citizens themselves, all these are necessary to ensure that the elections are hitch-free. If INEC has put in place a lot of reforms, including the introduction of technology, which has helped to improve the process, which has helped to eliminate or minimize the chances for election, rigging or manipulation. But of course, you can see that politicians are still working hard to re-strategizing to sabotage INEC. If INEC has also already said just a few days ago that if the security situation continues to escalate the way it is, it's likely to affect the chances of conducting this election. So I think that a lot depends more on other stakeholders than just INEC.
Although the INEC it was sort of credited to him, he didn't say it himself. The all security challenges that
I think he made that statement himself. It was what was that event? It was validation of the election security training manual or something. So it was his speech. But I think someone represented him, but it was a written speech. And I've also had him say this about before Christmas. So it's not new. INEC keeps saying that the greatest threat to this coming election is insecurity. And everybody knows, even without INEC saying it, I think everybody knows, citizens.
Something we sense. It's something we sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And government needs to do a lot to build, public confidence that they can go out safely and vote without any fear of being attacked. That is another challenge that we need to address. Politicians are still desperate, and like I said, you see a lot of political killings going on, politically motivated attacks on INEC offices, and no manner of other threats. If at INEC, for me, I think INEC, I have no reason to doubt INEC's sincerity. If you ask me, if I have any fear, it's about politicians who are determined to continue the old way.
And when we talk about election, apart from insecurity, what might not make the interest of the people get represented 100%? That has to be political apathy. When people do not come out to vote, they are not even interested in the whole electoral system. Maybe these are the group of people that say, I leave it to the Almighty, I leave it to the Creator, wherever emerges will be the one that is best for Nigeria, that type of scenario. But looking at Nigeria's population, although we cannot say this is exactly Nigeria's population, but fortunately there are plans for population census, another round of population census coming up. But do you feel that these population census plans should have been made for it to be done before the election rather than after the election?
How can any sensible government be thinking of population census at this time in the history of our country, when we are talking about for about 45 days to the elections, Would that be after the elections or before the? Do you know the logistics involved in population? I think that this government should simply get away and let a competent government come and address the problems of this country. I think this is a distraction. You know, because this government seems like one that has nothing to leave behind as a legacy. So it's just thinking of what can we do. Perhaps that's why they're coming up with this idea of census. Census we need, yes, but I think the timing must be right. We must focus on addressing insecurity and making sure that this election comes and happens freely without, you know, any attempt to undercut the will of the will of the people must prevail in this election. And I think that Nigerians are sufficiently desirable. They have demonstrated, for me, you know, sufficient desire to ensure that this election happens, so that a leadership that is based on knowledge and competence will begin to rebuild. Because Nigeria, like I was telling you while we're discussing, is like a building that has collapsed. I actually have sympathy for whoever emerges president in this election, because a lot of work to do. A lot of rubble need to clear the rubble and begin a new foundation, because the idea of building a nation state remains the challenge. This country has never been as divided before as it is today under this government. So a lot of work needs to be done to reunite Nigeria, rebuild confidence, create a sense of patriotism, so that Nigerians will begin to see this country as theirs and contribute to it. We can't continue to leave things to God. No country has ever developed by reliance on God. God has given man everything man needs to help himself.
And now let us look at this. According to Statista, half of Nigeria's population is under 19, and for registered, and this 19, this is like the age of suffrage, which is 18 years in Nigeria, so which is still a little bit near. So I think it is safe for us to assume that half of Nigeria's population, let us say it's about 210 million, so we are expecting like 105 million or around that should be able to vote. But then we asked 93,469,008 eligible voters that were okayed by INEC, and of this we still have, since from 4th of January, we still have about 6.7 million uncollected PVCs in 17 states, and with the suffrage age and with the suffrage and number of Nigerians that are eligible to vote, are you contented with the 93 million? Do you feel it's something that we could still nod our head at, like, okay, this is okay?
Well, I think that the challenge we have is that we have problem with numbers in this country. And this is because even the previous census that were conducted were not, they were subject to, public disputation. If you ask the police how many police officers are in the force, you're not likely going to get an accurate figure. So when we hear these numbers, we do a lot of we do more of approximation, here, gaze. So, but if we have that number, the challenge I also see is that, and this is why I think INEC has extended the period for collection of PVC, because a lot of people are going out there to collect PVCs, but they are facing obstacles. In some places, these obstacles are caused by politicians. Other times, they are caused by some people within INEC. This is not the problem of INEC as an institution, but I think there are individuals within INEC who are sabotaging the work of INEC. It behoves on INEC chairman to identify those who are doing this. There are particular areas that people have complained that they go to collect their PVCs and ask for money, or they make it difficult for them to collect. if that doesn't happen, a lot of people stand a chance of being disenfranchised, and that will not be good enough. I also know that there are particular states or regions that are being targeted. Politicians have this way of trying to make sure that where their opponents have strength, they try to undermine it and make sure that they make it difficult for elections to hold. Sometime in Lagos here, I think that was in 1999 election. There was a particular area in Lagos where people from a particular part of the country were dominant, and they were not going to vote for the party of their choice, and they decided to disrupt the election. So these are the kind of things that politicians do. So I think it is important that INEC puts in more effort to ensure that all those whose PVCs are yet to be collected, that they're able to collect them and they're able to vote. Because if Nigerians, this election is critical. It's a defining moment. It's going to be a defining moment for the future of this country. So this election must hold, and everybody who wants to vote must be allowed to vote.
A thought came to my mind as you were speaking. Do you envisage this type of system in the future, that after your PVCs are ready, they would be mailed to your address? Would that not make the whole distribution thing easy, or do you feel like there might be some challenges that might come to that? So it gets ready, it gets sent to your or your delivery address. So when you're filling in information for your PVCs, you might add something like a delivery address to it. Even if you might be the one that would pay for it, it is not an expense that would be a burden of INEC. Do you see that type of situation working out?
Yeah, like I said, INEC has been, devising new reforms aimed at improving the electoral process, and part of it is also easing the process of voter registration, and we are looking forward to a time when citizens can vote with their national identity, because elsewhere there are some countries where people don't have voter cards. They can vote they can stay in their houses and vote because their database, there's a database of everybody in the country, so it's difficult to manipulate. You can stay in the comfort of your house and vote. So I think that anything that can be done to improve the distribution and collection of PVC should be done, including mailing. But it's left for INEC to determine the logistics and the pros and the cons. But whatever can be done to improve the electoral process should be done.
Okay, all right, that's beautiful. And one of the interesting things about this is 39.6% of people who are registered, they are youth, and these are people aged between 18 to 35. And these are usually the group that are usually apathetic when it comes to election. How did you view that, knowing that the largest percentage belongs to the youth demographic? How did that make you feel?
I think there is a reawakening among the youth, Nigerian youth. Apart from social media, where you see the youth, getting more active, discussing, elections, I mean, the events of NSAS in 2020, October 2020, for me was a turning point. Nigerian youths have been characteristically, apathetic, or rather, not interested in the affairs of the country. But with that, revolts. That NSAS for me was like a revolt. It marked the end of tolerance, citizens' tolerance for police violence. In fact, it validated the preamble to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which said that if citizens are not to be compelled to take recourse to rebellion, that human rights must be protected by the rule of law. So the point I'm making is that that event marked a reawakening among the youth. And if you go to social media, the youths are engaging. They're engaging the process. They are even the ones saying people should go and get their PVCs. A lot of them are obtaining their PVCs as opposed to what happened in the past. So I think that I say a shift in behavior among the youth. So I expect more youth participation, and there are also deliberate efforts to mobilize the youth. A lot of groups are engaging the youth, trying to make them understand the need, the fact that the future of the country lies on the youth, because the youth constitutes a critical population of demography of the country. So I think the youth are awakening, and I expect that a lot of them will vote.
Okay, all right. And then this number, I'm still going back to this number that we have. We have 93,469,008 voters, which is sort of like a record in the history of Nigeria. A lot of people, when compared to last election data and the previous one, even in a lot of regions, a whole lot of people, the difference are in millions. What was obtainable in the last general election and what we have in this election. But do you feel that if you would try to say how many voters do you feel would actually come out during the election day, because this is not unusual when you see a whole lot of people that are registered, they are eligible to vote, and then at the end of the day you see just like half of them. Do you feel like that might also repeat itself this year?
I'm not sure I correctly get the question. I used to talk about the chances that the youth population.
Oh no, not the youth now. All this demographic we have here, that is with the youth, the middle-aged, elder citizens, senior citizens, the elder group. Now we have close to 95 million of them. We have close to 95 million of them. And for what we have for previous election, we would have like 80 million people who are eligible to vote. But then at the end of the day, just like 50 million would be the ones to vote. So despite this high number that we have for this year, for that are expected to vote February, do you think that what happened in the previous election, where just like half, or let me say 70%, 40% of them are the ones who will come out to vote? What are the chances that we might also experience that for this coming election?
Considering and there is a groundswell of Nigerians are sufficiently dissatisfied with the state of affairs in this country, and Nigerians are looking forward to a new government that will pull Nigeria out of the woods. So I see enthusiasm among a lot of Nigerians cutting across different demographics. But like I said, the only obstacle to large turnouts in this election will be, one, people not being able to collect their PVCs. Two, insecurity. If you take a place like the Southeast, where criminal groups are threatening that people who come out to vote will be attacked. So this kind of tension, creating fear in people, and which I think is what it's something that needs to be urgently addressed. So it's insecurity, fear of being attacked, and people not being able to collect their PVCs. These are the only things that I see stopping people from coming to vote. Otherwise, the mood I see is that Nigerians are eager. They're looking forward to this election. They cannot wait for a new government, for a new dawn in this country.
Yes, may the best man win. And for the extension that INEC has given, it leaves 14 days left to collect PVC. Do you feel like this window is large enough that we could have close to millions of Nigerians getting their PVCs at this time? And we also have to keep in mind that these people are complaining about, some said that the process is slow, despite the fact that it has even been given to the ward level. People are still complaining about the tedious process it takes to get the PVCs.
So I think that it is important that INEC has extended the time, but it's also important for INEC to address those problems that are militating against people being able, because people are the complaints are clear. People are saying Of course, I mean, bringing it down to is helping to, it's helping to ease the collection. But I think that INEC needs to do a lot more to listen to what people are saying, the complaints they are making about the problems, the challenges they're having. I think INEC needs to address all that, because if you extend the time and those problems remain, it may not make any much difference really. But people need to collect their PVCs, and they want to, so they have to be enabled to collect their PVCs.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. INEC was impressed, even they were impressed with the number of PVCs that was collected so far, and this is why they have extended the date. But something funny happened. I don't know if to these segments of affected people, I'm sure they wouldn't consider this funny. So it was a case in the court, and what they were demanding for is that elections be moved from Saturday to Sunday, because of members of a particular church will go to worship on Saturdays, which according to them prevents them from voting because they have to go to church on that particular day, and then they want elections to be moved from Sunday. What do you think about that?
No, but the majority of Christians go to church on Sundays. Yes. Those that go on Saturdays are just few. So I don't understand why any group. In any case, if people are really serious about, getting involved in the elections and making sure that we elect a leadership that will, move this country forward, church or no church should not be an obstacle. People can, if for any reason, putting the election on a Sunday will make it easier, possible for more people to vote. I think that should be done. It doesn't matter whether it's on. After all, Fridays, Muslims go to worship, and they are not asked that elections should not be. So I don't think that all these things should actually come up at all. The important thing is that people should make up their minds to come out on any day the election is fixed, to come and vote. That's what matters to me, and not church or no church really.
Yeah, but like if the election is really that important to you, whichever day you are supposed to, you just have to sacrifice something.
That's what I think.
Just to quickly
go to vote. It's a civic duty, and we must prioritize it over any other thing.
Okay, so you are trying to say that civic duty should trump religious duties?
It doesn't. You see, this if it is on a Sunday, for example, it's just one Sunday, and this thing comes once in a cycle. So why would we be talking about Sunday or no Sunday? But I mean, but by the way, like I said, if the reason they are saying that is that they go to worship on Saturdays, and I'm saying that majority of Christians don't worship on Saturdays, they worship on Sundays. So why would they be asking for elections to be moved to? Because if they say so, other Christians who go to church on Sundays will also say no. So that's why I'm saying that we shouldn't even go there.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. And 41 days left to the 2023 general election, counting from today, that is Sunday. What word do you have for Nigerians in rounding up now, because we're almost running out of time?
So, like I said, this forthcoming election is a decisive one. Is one that will define the future of this country. Nigerians have suffered a lot of hardship, a lot of consequences of misgovernance. So we need to take back our country, and the opportunity we have to do that is this election. Nigerians must come out to vote, and vote based on their conscience, not based on what any politician will give them as money to sell their votes. If they sell their votes, they sell their future and the future of their children. We must all put hands together to elect a competent, qualified, credible president who will have the knowledge and the capacity to. Nigeria is already in the woods, so to pull Nigeria out of the woods, and like I said, begin to rebuild. We need to build a nation, unite Nigeria again, and begin the journey towards nationhood.
All right, thank you.